All right, this is a daily chart of Google. In this video, I'm going to be talking about Google, Apple, and using examples of QIHU and Caterpillar. And what I want to explain is that moving averages don't always tell you the true picture of the market. And this screen here is not the screen that's telling me that Google was in the bearish zone since really since July, really, believe it or not. And let's take a look at let's go to the moving average now. Okay, and just picture that in the months of June, July, August, this stock in September, this stock was in the bearish zone. As a long-term investor, moving averages said that things were okay. We're trading above the exponential moving average 200, right? This stock is bullish. There was money to make. But this stock here ended up going a lot lower in the long run, right? And as we've had as the market's been correcting. Now let's take a look at Apple. AAPL. Apple has been in the bearish zone, was in the bearish zone in February, March, in April. And I mean, it traded, and moving averages said this is okay. As you can see, we trade and hit the 200. When its earnings came out, now of course it's clear with moving averages, but when its earnings came out, it became clearly in the bullish zone. Of course, it looks that way, of course, moving averages, but again, if we look at the Google example, that's not the case. And it remained both my visionary lines that check for bullish bearish zones agreed that Apple, and it still continues to be in the bullish zone for Apple. And this is one of the reasons why I made a video back then saying how bullish Apple was. And it's one of the best. It was one of the safest and best investments. It remains that way. Even if they were to come and try to test 96 people, which still wouldn't cause any damage to the stock, there would be a bloodbath in the market, in my opinion, for most stocks. I mean, look what's happening already. Let's take a look at Google, right? Moving averages for Google, everything was fine in June, July, August, September. It was all fine. But the reality was that this stock really needed to trade in the 600 and base in the 600 area for it to really mean something. And I know there were a lot of pros that were saying that this is going to 620. According to my visionary line system, this was an avoid unless you see a good signal to the short side. This wasn't easy, or wasn't a great short, but the stock did is a lot lower. Or hasn't gone anywhere. I mean, it's still higher than it was in May. Not too bad, but basically, when you compare stocks that are in the bullish zone and acting correctly, and moving averages are agreeing, like Apple was a clear winner, and this is one of the reasons. QIHU was just like it had the same problem like Google. Even though it looked bullish in August to September through the moving averages, this wasn't the case with my visionary lines. Okay, and one of the visionary line screen that I look at. And this same visionary line screen that I look at, I'm using it to do what's called a bullish and bearish check. And there's where the edge comes in now, because theoretically, while the market was still very bullish, let's put up the SPY here. The market was pretty bullish in September, but my visionary lines, saying there were problems right around here. But not just that, beyond that, because even they weren't as helpful. I mean, this was in the by the way, this was in the bearish zone in September as well, I should say. In the visionary line, this was in the bearish zone. This was not very bullish, this market. And it didn't mean that for sure it wasn't as clear as the Google one. I mean, these were getting close, right? But you can see that out of everything, Apple was in the bullish zone all along through May, right? Through the May, through the June, July, but not the market. The market was not. Neither was the Qs. And so there's the sell-off we have. So why is this powerful? Why am I excited? It's because it doesn't matter what I look, which ones. The QIHU was in the bearish zone along with the market in August, in September, way before its fall. which was over here. This day was extremely negative, but moving averages, it was still okay. You're above the 200-day moving average. You're above with that, blah 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 blah, whatever you want to be above. It meant nothing. But to me, according to how I look at things now, especially with the new screen, what a disaster. Caterpillar, the same thing, right? The negative. This was in the bearish zones already in these months, and then the confirmation came really strongly here in these days, especially in this area here. And look at this nice directional move, right? So, that's why I said late August, early September was really a great opportunity to go short this market, because the market was up a lot, by the way, SPY. And like I said, Google was really, my opinion, was just in a chop zone. We were just chopping around, right? And then but it was chop zone where if it was going to break, which we could say that this was the time it broke over here, that it favored to the downside. That doesn't mean for sure. The odds were in your favor because nothing's 100%. But according to my statistics, they showed that. Here's what I'm going to tell you right here. Google was in the bearish zone in August. It's September. So is QIHU. So is Caterpillar. Apple was not. It was in the bullish zone. And this is just an example, but I've done the statistics studies already. That's why you want to follow me for more great advice, because there's nobody that has this advantage or is looking at this. And only the smart who recognize what I've done so far. Like I said, just like the Apple investors are very smart people. Most people, that are investors of things like BlackBerry are not very smart. I can tell you that right now, because look where BlackBerry is. It's a long-term investor. Most people are in the dumps, but that's another point. That's another story. What I'm trying to get at is that moving averages do not tell you everything, and everybody looks at moving averages. They do work, but they do not show what I'm looking at. And the visionary lines and stuff like you're seeing over here, and I've been studying this for a while. Let me close this here. In these visionary lines that I look at, they show things. Actually, this screen here, this is one of the screens, but as you can see, Google here was according to my way I look at things, and it works in the bearish zone a long time, even when we hit this. But this screen is not the right screen that really shows everything. Let me go back to this screen over here. As you can see, everything looks different. This visionary line system that I look at is like looking at real support, real resistance based on many points. It's something unique, and I've been studying this. And basically now when I scan the stocks fit two criteria. Are they in a bullish phase, or are they in the bearish phase? And even though moving averages cannot show what I'm looking at, it works, because even to this day, stocks that try to remain in the bullish barely are any, and in the bearish are through the roof. And that has been a lot. I wasn't checking for this, like I've explained to my followers. But if anybody who's been an investor in Google instead of Apple, now you know that if theoretically, technically, you can figure a lot of things out. And then you combine technicals with some fundamentals, you have a huge advantage, of course. Apple, as I said, when I've been right about Apple, but I've been right on Apple because fundamentally I understood the fundamentals and how well they're doing. But technically, it also agreed. And in Google, it's not the case, because it is not doing as well as Apple is doing. It's just as simple as that. Okay, and when you have and the visionary lines did this. The visionary lines agree. The moving averages agree. The fundamentals agree. So the key to what I'm doing is I'm looking for stuff that's in our favor. and then acting upon that information when it confirms. I also talk about confirmation with many people, but that's out of the scope of this video. Only my special followers understand what I mean by confirmation. When you add this together, nobody has this unique look at the market. Nobody. And I'm really excited about this. But I wanted to show people, about that moving averages did not tell you about QIHU, and you can look at my video again, like if you go back to this, or it could not tell you, look at QIHU looked pretty good back in August, but not according to the visionary lines. It's not in your favor unless it was to confirm, and it could never confirm those price points. And most people would not want to buy those points anyways. But that's not the point. So was Caterpillar. Caterpillar looked like a good stock up here. And it still looked fine over here according to some moving averages, right? And this is the 200-day moving average, which is when stocks tend to trend so above that, it's very bullish. Look, it came over here and we bounced, right? But visionary line said there were problems. It was disagreeing with all this, and it was very visually easy for me to see, anyways. That's the key here, is being able to see very, very quickly. So when I scan, not only do I scan for the market, just because something's in a bearish zone, I look at, is there a pattern? And this had a great pattern, by the way. Is there a pattern that this is in the bearish zone, even though it looks bullish? Where is the break point? And so on and so forth. And then I see how many can I find that are bearish in the bearish zone, and how many can I find that are bullish in the bullish zone. And guess what? What my stats showed, had I looked like this, it would have showed, so many more were in the bearish zone in August, even though it wasn't clear in late August, especially if we look at the SPY. Right? It wasn't clear here. Just look at this. I'm putting moving averages to show this. Anyways, people, I said enough as it is here. Follow me for more great advice. Thanks for listening. Like the video.